Mi gente, welcome back to another HOA. Today I have a special guest. Her name is Leni, and this is your first podcast ever?
It is. So
Nice.
thank you
Nice. Well,
for being
thank you
my
for
first.
being here. You know about the Lord's List, so we're going to go just jump into that if you're okay with it.
I am.
Cool. What is yoga?
Oh, interesting question. Well, okay. So the word yoga in Sanskrit means to yoke. So the idea behind yoga.
Is it expensive? Like yoke? Eggs? Egg prices?
I mean, egg prices are rising.
So I
They're
assume
going crazy right now.
So yoga prices are through the roof, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. But in case you didn't know, there's free videos on YouTube. So it is for everybody.
Okay.
But yeah, so to yoke would be the idea behind yoga is a way in which we can bring together your mind, so like your thinking mind, into your body and your breath. And then that just kind of forms this like oneness, right? So to yoke everything about you together. And then also the idea behind yoga actually is to like prep your body to get you ready for meditation. So you're like combining your mind, your body, your breath together so that you can be in a preparation for meditation.
So it's not meditation at the same time? Like,
it is.
What?
I know, right?
How does that work?
Right? So it can be meditative for some. So I found it very meditative because it's instead of thinking about like everything else, right? Like where your mind just kind of goes like thinking about everything that's happened already or has yet to happen, you're in the moment. So you're thinking about like what your body is doing. And so it really gives you this like body awareness. Mm-hmm. You're also thinking about like what your breath is doing, how all of that feels together. And so that can be quite meditative. And then you're in that state already. So if you were to use that, which not everyone does, so we could use that as a form of meditation. Mm-hmm. If you were to use that, this could help you. The idea behind yoga really was to help you to sit for longer times, right? So you're like stretching and moving your body, and then you're sitting in a posture to meditate for a longer period of time. But we don't always use that nowadays. We use it more for like exercise for your like brain and your body as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was actually my next question. Like how different was it from meditation and like that was, I don't know how to explain that. You just took my second question.
Oh, wow. Look at me.
Yeah. So is it like, because it says, how is yoga different from meditation? And you just explained it.
Sweet. Did I explain it?
I mean, kind of. So it is meditation, but it's not, is what you're saying.
It's kind of like pairing with meditation. So the difference between, so it can be used, it can become meditative. For instance, I'll be honest, I'll throw myself under the bus. I struggle with meditation a lot, as far as just like sitting there and trying to be in the moment. So I use yoga. I'm much better at doing yoga than meditating. Mm-hmm. And so let's see. So for me, the difference between meditation and yoga itself is that meditation in the form of what we would like usually think of as meditation would be to sit for a period of time and kind of letting your thoughts pass. That's the idea of meditation, is like, how can I not get rid of my thoughts, but not attach myself to my thoughts, right? So like just being in the moment as they're coming and going,
so essentially
and not
just
going
like
with
quieting
them.
your mind or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Or it's even being at peace with the mind when it isn't quiet. So how can you be quiet, or how can you not chase these thoughts as they come and go? So that you're not becoming your thoughts, right? So when we're like following our thoughts everywhere they come and go, it's almost like we are in that moment our thoughts, right?
Yeah.
And then in yoga, you're kind of becoming more so, you're in the moment, focusing more physically on your body. So where meditation to me would be more of like a mental observation and a stillness. Yeah. It's yoga is more of a physical you're connecting your mind to your body.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That does explain it a lot better.
Oh, awesome. I'm glad I did well.
Yeah, no, that's good.
That was a good question.
Dude, what is your favorite pose or position? Or I read somewhere they're called asanas.
Yeah.
What is that? Yeah, for us simpletons, what does that mean? Or like, why are they called that? Or the actual term of it?
Yeah, good question. So asana is asana. So that would be a Sanskrit word again. So Sanskrit is
How do you
like
pronounce it again?
Asana.
Asana.
Yeah,
Okay.
you got it. Yeah.
Right.
So asana would be another Sanskrit word, which is like the Hindu language. And that means posture. So let's see. So a lot of let's see. Sanskrit pose would be sukhasana. So sukha would mean eat. So in a meditative so when you see people meditating, kind of like the crisscross applesauce, right?
Yeah.
So that would be considered sukhasana. Sukha means easy, and then asana means pose, so easy pose or easy posture. So asana would be any posture. So most of our yoga poses would end with that word asana, which would indicate that this is a posture of some sort. And you're asking me what my favorite asana is? I would have to say probably at this point in time, downward dog, which I did not always love. And that's kind of a common one, but that one can be kind of tricky if you don't know what you're doing.
And what is that one like?
Oh, do you want me to like?
I mean, I don't think there's room for that, but like, can you explain like?
Yeah, let's see. So
people can think about it in their minds, you know?
Yeah, okay. So let's see. Since I'm such an excellent yoga instructor, I'm going to explain it with my words.
Yeah, with your words.
I could do that. Okay. So downward facing dog, which would be Adho Mukha Svanasana, asana, right? Yeah. So downward facing dog would be when you kind of create this shape of a kind of like a V with your body. So your hands are stretched out on the floor, and then you're lifting your sit bones up toward the sky, and then your legs are stretching in the opposite direction with your heels reaching toward the floor. So it's like you're in this V shape, right? So your hands, and then you go your arms, your spine, your sit bones, and then your legs and your heels drop down to the earth. So that's downward facing dog. That pose kind of does everything. So it's like, if you think about the position, you're working your shoulders, right? Because you're like pushing away from the earth to get your body up, which I love about yoga, because what comes down, something's got to go up. So it's like you're defying gravity in yoga, right? So I'm pushing away from the earth with my hands. I'm using that resistance to lift my sit bones up, and then I'm grounding my legs and my heels down toward like the back of my mat. So hands are at the front of the mat, sit bones in the air, heels to the back of the mat, and then you're rooting down. So you're stretching your thighs. You're engaging your quads, you're engaging your shoulders, you're stretching your spine. So you're doing a lot of stretching and engaging. And so like the whole body has to think about it.
And then how long are you in those poses for? Like,
good question.
Does it depend on the individual, or like, I don't know, because you teach classes or whatever. Like, how long do you tell people, okay, we're going to be in this position 5 minutes, survive, you know? Like...
that would be kind of evil of me, but I kind of like that. No, so it really depends. It would depend on, so there's different styles of yoga. So what would be called hatha yoga, that is a more static base, right? So we're holding the poses for a little bit longer, so we can kind of think about like where our body is in space, how it's feeling. And then you can use that to build up your muscle memory. And then my style of yoga that I usually teach is called vinyasa. That's where we're moving with the breath. But I like to do it a little bit slower because I like to give you time to think about how you're moving your body and where you're moving so you can connect to that. So I would probably, and usually what I like to do is the way I build up my poses is we'll get us into a shape. We'll probably take 3 to 5 breaths in that shape, and then we'll move on to the next. And then once you kind of get a grasp of like the sequence of poses that we've done, we'll do it again, but this time we're moving with the breath. So I'd be like, inhale, arms up overhead, exhale, arms back down, something like that. But I like for us to take our time first. So every teacher is going to be a little bit different, and there's so many different styles of yoga. So depending on the yoga instructor, hopefully they're taking their time so our students can, get the feel.
Grasp of it.
Yeah, exactly.
So like normally how long are the classes and stuff?
Yeah. So for me, because I really like to, I think, chat and take my time. My classes are usually 75 minutes, but they're usually 60 to 75 minutes, something along that.
Okay.
Yeah. Usually no shorter than 70 or 60 minutes though. Yeah.
And that's just because like do you have to go through all the like certain positions, or I guess like is there a certain method to your madness? Like do you have a routine that you follow every time and stuff?
So I get a little bit
or would you get bored of that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, personally, me. So when I was first starting, and I had to kind of be a little bit easier on myself since then, but I do get a little bit like bored. Yeah, so I don't like too much structure and routine. I like to switch it up a little bit and challenge myself and my students in different ways. So for me, I like to just find unique ways of getting into different poses, and then how we can experience that in our body, because I really think it's important to just kind of find new ways of experiencing your body. I love in yoga, because I think when we're just like take yoga out of the mix, I don't know that most of us have body awareness, right? So we're like, oh, my back hurts or whatever, but no one really is like, but why?
Why exactly does it hurt?
Exactly. And like, how can I work on that? And so that's something that's pretty important to me. And so so I personally like to structure, and I want my students to become familiar so they feel like they can make it their own. So for me, I like for us to set our class up like we'll go through and kind of build up. So I kind of would describe it like kind of like stepping stones. Like, okay, we went through one pose, so now we got that's familiar. So now we can maybe go through that pose a little bit faster, and then we'll add something else on. And when I add something on, we'll pause and we'll get familiar with that. And then we've got that, and then that. And then we'll add something else on.
Okay.
So it kind of like stepping stones. And then toward the end, we have a whole flow, and we're familiar with it because we've gone through it a few times.
Almost like a dance routine?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yes. You got it.
Cool. How spiritual does yoga get? Because I know you guys I know there's some chants to it, and it has like ties to like Hinduism and I can't remember the other guys, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Hinduism is perfect, because that's really where yoga is from the Hindu religion, and maybe like Buddhism.
Yeah, those are the other guys.
Yeah. I love that. But no, Hinduism, you had it, because that's really where the yogic philosophy comes from. So how spiritual is it? So I actually really like this question, because all I can really go based off of is my own experience. So when I first started doing yoga, I didn't think of it as going to be a spiritual experience. It was more so like, okay, I'm doing some exercises, which I really was never like,
it's just not your thing.
Not my thing. And so then I tried yoga, and I was like, oh, I kind of like this. It's a fun, different way of doing something good for your body. So it started out as very physical, and then it just kind of creeps up on you because it makes you ask questions. Like first of all, you're experiencing understanding your body in a unique way that you never had before. So then that kind of is like a floodgate, right? And you're experiencing breathing in a different way that you never done before. You're experiencing thinking in a different way. And so it's like all of a sudden you're having these different experiences that you'd never thought of before. And so before you know it, it becomes spiritual without you even thinking of it that way, because it just gives you this difference. It's like you come out of it after like challenging yourself and like doing something different. It makes you feel a bit more at peace, whether you want to or not. So a lot of my students, they'll come to my class thinking that they're just doing a workout, and then they keep coming back and they're like, actually, like, I just feel so much more calm and centered after. So it's like it becomes spiritual in the sense that it just grounds you and just like, makes you experience. It's like you have a whole life experience on the mat, and then you take that with you off.
Do you think that's because like it forces you to meditate even after the fact? Like, yo, what was that? Like, why did I feel like this and stuff like that?
Totally. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's a really good point. I would say so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So then what would you say to the abuelitas? Like, let's say my mom, right? She's like super Catholic, right? And she thinks it's like of the devil or whatever. So how, like, maybe sell the yoga pitch to her and moms like that and stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So for me, it's not, the intention isn't for it to be a spiritual practice.
Yeah.
That is up to you to decide. And it helps to kind of clear your mind, right? So if you were to say you were a religious person of any sort, and then you are saying entering prayer, you're coming from a clear mind and from a way where you moved your body and connected to your body. A lot of people find that moving in your body in such a way just kind of like clears and creates space. So I would say that you're creating space by using this method so that you can become more open for your spiritual or religious practice as well. That's a good point too. Yeah. Oh, cool. Sweet.
If people aren't very flexible, like beginners or whatever, do you force them to like, all right, like chin up, like elbows out, you know what I mean? Like, do you kind of like, I don't want to say force, like encourage them to like do it correctly?
Got you. Yeah, so that's a good question. It's one of my favorite things I say all the time is when a person is like, yeah, but I'm not flexible. And I'm like, yeah, that's why you do yoga to become flexible. So there's never the assumption that you need to already be flexible. I just want to say that right now. And yeah, so my whole thing is every body is going to be structured different, right? So we're all flexibility is going to be like a spectrum, right? And so we're all going to be coming at different levels of flexibility. Not only that, but the way our body is structured is going to be different. So what one person can do is going to be different from the other.
Yeah.
With that being said, there are certain like cues that I would give to just encourage the body to work toward that, right? So if we were like standing on our feet, that would be considered a mountain pose. I would encourage you to like draw your shoulders back, lengthen your neck, and like certain ways in which we can move our body that are very user friendly for everyone. So if you weren't flexible, I would never encourage you to force your body into a shape, but I would encourage you to give it a try and
almost like push yourself a little bit or
find your edge. So what I like to say in my classes is find your edge, which means find that place of sensation that isn't pain. Pain would be considered like if you can pinpoint a specific place in your body that hurts, that might be
You're
pain.
Doing it wrong.
Right. But there's a difference between sensation, like discomfort, and pain. And we don't always recognize that there's a difference.
Yeah.
So Yeah.
This feels weird. Does it hurt? No, but it feels weird.
Right. Okay.
Then
So
keep going.
Exactly. Let's like pause there and let's see how it feels to breathe through the weirdness. See if your body can relax through that, and then it becomes more comfortable in that discomfort, and then that discomfort becomes less in that pose, because the body trusts you.
Yeah.
Right. Because you kind of slow down and you let yourself, but you don't want to push yourself over the edge because then it's harder to get back up because I've done that before, right? So find your edge, so find your discomfort, but don't push yourself over to the point where it becomes pain.
Yeah.
Because
that's
then
a good way to put it.
Yeah. That's how I would word that.
So do you think that's the number one reason people quit?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Totally. That and the ego.
What, like ego how? Like
ego as far as stepping out of your comfort zone. Right. And so when you're feeling uncomfortable, that can be very ego based. And then sometimes when the ego feels uncomfortable, we don't want to do it again.
Yeah.
We want to find something that's more comfortable, like more of what we're used to. So I'll always tell people, give it like 3, 4, 5 tries before you decide you don't want to do it anymore, because you got to fight through the ego trying to encourage you not to do it because that was weird, or you couldn't do what the person next to you could do.
Oh, that makes sense. Is that how you like get them to come back? You're like, hey, come, you gotta at least come try like 5 times. Promise me 5 times.
If you hate me, you hate me. It's fine.
That's funny. Yeah. That's good. I've read that you're not supposed to do yoga immediately after eating. Is that true? Yeah. And if so, like, what are like some do's and don'ts to yoga?
Okay.
Because I was like, man, is this like swimming? Like, is it that hard? Is that much of a workout? You know, but
it can be.
I mean, I believe it. After I read all that, I was like, what the hell? I never once did I think like, oh, I'm not supposed to eat before yoga. Or,
right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So
yeah. So the reason behind that, good question, is because, well, first of all, I think back in the day it was more so like to keep the body purified. But nowadays I have eaten and done yoga before, and it's like acid reflux, right? Or like your body just feels heavier, so it's slower and it's a little bit harder to move the body, or you'll become, crampy and things like that, just because we're engaging muscles and the way in which we're moving and breathing can create things like that. So that would be the reason why. So I mean, I'll never tell you what to do, but
it's my body, my choice.
That's right. I'm all about that. Preach.
but yeah, because they had actually like a big list. I was like, so I was wondering if like you knew the list, because I didn't. This is not a quiz or whatever. I'm not trying to pressure you, but yeah, I was like, damn, that's a pretty decent list of like do's and don'ts.
Were there any other fun ones that stood out to you?
I mean, there was, but I didn't like. I was too lazy to write them down, But like, I was wondering if you knew any of the other don'ts.
Oh my gosh! So here's my thing. I personally don't like being told what to do, and so you're
teaching a class.
I know, right?
Here we are,
And so in my class, I'll go about. You could do this. I'm just gonna, but if it doesn't feel right, don't let me tell you what to do.
Yeah.
We're all grown ass adults here for the most part. But I honestly, other than like staying hydrated and not eating food, I don't think I have seen the list. I might have to.
You might just have to go home and print it out and be like, hey, don't do this before you come to my class.
Teacher or my students.
That's funny. Let's see. What is the end game with like yoga? Is there like a black belt? Like, do you reach Supreme Kai legacy or something like that?
Nirvana.
Is that what it is? Is that? Yeah. I knew there was an end game. So, like, what part of Avengers is this? You know what I mean?
I haven't reached that yet. I am no Avenger.
Or, I guess, is this a better question? Like, is there like, what are the levels, and like, is there like certificates or like kind of like a karate black belt, or you know what I mean? Like, does that happen? Like,
okay, so for the students per se, I mean, it's kind of boring answer, but I guess there's like different advances, right? So the longer you've been doing it, maybe the poses become more advanced because your body becomes more open and flexible and so forth. So maybe one day you can like do a handstand. Maybe you can do a handstand without using the wall to lean against it, right? That'd be kind of cool. Or you can do super bendy things where you're like stretching your foot behind your back or something crazy that probably me neither if I'm being honest. And then as far as like I mean honestly at a certain point maybe you want to do teacher training where you get a certificate. So I did that. Like I actually wasn't even doing yoga for very long and I just fell in love with it. And then maybe you do teacher training where that's an advanced way. Like, because in my teacher training, some people were doing it and they didn't even want to become yoga teachers, but they just wanted to deepen their practice, right? So then they deepen their practice as far as learning the philosophy of yoga and the spiritualism of yoga and what the poses feel like in your body in a deeper way where you're spending more focused time on yoga itself. I would say maybe that could be like your black belt. And then
so does that mean like then then it really does become like religious? Like you start dwelling into like Hinduism and Buddhism and stuff like that?
Yeah. Because once I started doing teacher training, it became a lot more spiritual. Yes.
And then would that make it like that in turn turns into your lifestyle? Do you think, is that the case?
Yeah. Because it definitely did. Then it becomes like you kind of take yoga with you everywhere because and that's one thing that I love about yoga is like, even if I'm not actually doing yoga, I'm like practicing it. Like for instance, when a guy cuts you off when you're driving, right? You can think about, okay.
Why not a woman though?
Right. Oh, let's be honest.
I'm just kidding. You're right. Guys are pieces of shit. You fucking idiots.
I wasn't gonna say it, but since not
I know. I'll say it for you. You fucking idiots. Stop driving like maniacs.
Funny. It came out naturally. I didn't even know what I was saying, so that says something. So good point.
I'm just kidding.
But yeah, so for instance, when a person cuts you off driving in traffic, then you can be reminded like, okay, like what's in my control? What really matters? Like, how do we let things go? Because we learn that on our yoga mat. So it's like, it's almost like you like live a mini life on your yoga mat. And then you can take those practices with you off the mat.
And use it in instances like that.
Totally. And I do when someone's all the time.
Taking forever to order their food and stuff.
Exactly.
Or they run out of ice cream and you're sitting there at McDonald's. And that sucks.
It sucks so bad. Yeah.
But then you have the yoga training, so it works out.
Right. It still sucks, but you're like, okay, how can I make peace with the suckiness is really what's happening. So we're not disregarding the suckiness. We're not sweeping it under the rug.
Like, how do you just... So then how do you confront... Like, do you ever confront people like that? Like, how does that work in yoga? In the yoga lifestyle?
Oh, yeah. Let's make it clear. I am not perfect. Yeah. So when I'm confronting suckiness, sometimes I'm crying. But also, let's see, a lot of the times it's more so what you're recognizing is that everyone is kind of telling their own different stories, right? So one person's experience is like, we don't know what that is. So let's say I'll use the example once. Yeah, let's say someone like cuts you in line or something like that. Who knows why they really cut you in line? They could have been assholes. That's fine. Maybe that sucks, but or maybe they were in a hurry. Maybe they didn't notice you there. So it kind of teaches you to not take another person's actions personally. Yeah, is how I would kind of phrase that. And so, yeah, so it's like you kind of learn how to regulate yourself, because one of my favorite lessons that I use all the time is like, 99% of the things that are happening around you are not in your control. But that 1% that's in your control is what?
Yoga. I'm just kidding.
Hey. Going to yoga, yes. That was a trick question. Good job.
Hey, I got, you know what? I did my homework.
Hey, look, you're a quick learner. Come do yoga.
Hey, I might, after this, I probably would.
But aside from that, it would be you.
Yeah.
You're in control of the way you react.
Your emotions, your actions.
How you respond or react to all the things happening around you that are not in your control at all. Like, you can't control the person who cut you in line. You can control how you're going to respond to that person. And is that in alignment with how you want to represent yourself? And in yoga, that's what it's all about, is building up how you want to represent yourself, how you want to create your own experience.
Oh, that makes sense. But then, okay, so is there like angry yoga, or like, how they have goat yoga? Goga, I think is what they call it. Have you ever done that?
No, I have not.
Because Alice, I think one of our partners, she has. And she said she loved it.
Yeah.
But I was just curious about that too. Like,
I haven't done goat yoga yet, but I would love to. And I've heard like just fun things. Like, that's just a fun experience because you're dealing with goats and you're doing yoga.
Then how does that work? Like, do they just like you're
not doing
in a
too
pose?
Much yoga.
Yeah,
You're mostly playing with goats.
Okay. Which is also a nice distressor.
Right, exactly.
Unless you're butting heads,
Yeah.
But
again, but what is in my control? Not the goat.
Definitely not the goat.
Right?
But like, and then is that just somebody trying to be funny, or you know what I mean? Like when they come up with that, or is it really like it has a little bit to do with yoga? And just like this guy's like, oh, here's a gimmick. Like,
I was gonna use the word gimmick, unfortunately, but not necessarily a bad thing.
No, yeah,
I think it's more of a fun way to introduce yoga to people, while also kind of doing something fun with animals because people are really like that. So it's more like, come do yoga because we have goats.
Which is odd. Like, who the hell wants?
It's kind of random.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, hey, come pet my goat. I guess
He may or may not poop on you. I don't know. Right.
Or like headbutt you. You're in that position. What was it called? The one you told me?
Downward facing.
Yeah,
dog.
the downward facing dog. And you just get headbutted. Like that wouldn't be pleasant.
No. So. That's like, okay, how can I stay in the moment even as I am
ultimate training
concussion? That's right.
True. How to stay cool and cooler heads will prevail.
That's right, because I mean, you never know. You might be walking down the street and someone's just headbutting you, and
I've seen it before.
That's right.
I really have. You know what? I'm gonna take a step back, let you move on with your life, and I'm just gonna keep it moving.
Hey, that was yoga right there. Well done.
Hey, some of us call it Christianity, but
there we go. Hey, it's an umbrella.
All right, dude. Have you ever creeped on anybody in your classes? You can plead the fifth, like, or if you're friends, you can say your friends have creeped, and
I love that. Like I said, I am an open book. I mean, if someone is a good looking person, I'm gonna pay respect.
Are you gonna help them out a little privately more? So, like, you know what I mean?
I may help them out
to the point
less.
where the class, to the point where the class like notices, like, hey, what the hell?
What about me?
Yeah, you know what I mean?
No.
Have you caught yourself doing that?
I'm professional. Never helping more. No. If anything, I would be helping them less because I don't want them to have any idea that I just spotted someone kind of attractive in my class. But I may personally present the poses in a more attractive way.
Okay.
So yeah, as I'm being demonstrative or something along those lines. But I mean, sure, like I have eyes, like,
And you're human, it's kind of hard to control that emotion. But
yeah, so shout out to all my attractive students, guys, girls, or however.
And that was a trick question. That was all of them, right? Like, they're all attractive.
You're all doing great.
And then in the reverse of that, like, have you caught anybody being a creep?
Yes. Yeah, I have caught people being a creep. I've also had people like come up to me after class and ask me like if I'm in a relationship or something along those lines. So yeah.
And that's when you reply like, I'm in an open relationship, come back for 5 classes, and then, you know what I mean? So,
You get it.
yeah, I'm just trying to I'm here to help you out, you know? So, and then have you had to kick anybody out, or like, how do you handle that?
Ooh, I have not, and actually I would be terrible at that because I'm a very non-confrontational person, but I have had some pet peeves, like if a student has their phone with them in class and I notice they're like kind of checking them out and stuff like that. But I have never had to kick anyone out. Usually my students, anyway, are pretty well behaved. I've got them well trained. So
that's good.
Just kidding.
I guess this should have been like a earlier question, but like, when is it better to do yoga? Is it morning or nighttime, or does it really matter? Like, because I feel like to prepare you for the day, I think morning would be best, right?
It depends on the person.
True, I guess you have those night owls.
I mean, that's right. I mean, okay, personally, I would, if you could do yoga in the morning and the night, that would be ideal, because if we're doing, so yoga is kind of like a reset or a start, right? So you could use yoga in the morning for the purpose to start your day. Like you're asleep, right? So the body gets kind of stiff. So you're like stretching and kind of resetting your body from that. You're also like setting your mind. You're toning the day. You're setting the tone for the day, right? So you're giving yourself that undivided attention to do that. And then you're set for the day, you know, depending on the day,
more or less,
right?
You know? Yeah.
Exactly. And then that day goes by, and then yoga in the evening would be a really nice way to decompress, right? To reset. Say, for instance, I work a day job where I'm sitting at a desk, so it'd be beneficial for me to start my day with yoga to center my mind, because who knows what's going to happen, and to set my body up, like create some space for me to sit for a long periods of time. And then at the end of the day, it would be really nice for me to decompress. So to find a way to clear my mind from the experiences I've had and to reset my body from sitting for so long. So ideally, if you could do it in the beginning and the evening, that would be best. But again, it depends on the person, what you can commit to, and the schedule. Totally. So no wrong answers there.
Oh yeah, dude, you're telling me it's like 75 minutes per session. That's a long time, you know?
That's a long time, yeah. And you can shorten it. Like for instance, when I started doing, I will be honest, yoga can be expensive. When I never thought I'd be able to do yoga because I didn't come from that lifestyle at all.
Yeah.
Always playing catch up. But then I discovered you can do yoga for free on YouTube. A lot of those videos are like 20 minutes long, or you could find like morning videos 10 minutes long just to like make it accessible to you. So you could do that. You could do yoga for free at home on YouTube, anybody, all different sets of times to make it work for you. So you can make it work for you.
But it's also like, I guess the social aspect, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, I'm sure you come out with friends and stuff in the classes and everything, and all you see repeated people, and you're like, hey, I've seen you, and then you creep out, right? Like after the fact, like, hey, I've seen you at least 5 times, whether that's creepy or not. I'll leave that in your hands, you know? So
Wanna
like,
be friends?
yeah, you know what I mean?
Right.
You have to creepily start friendships like that.
That's right. That's how friendships are formed, creepily.
For the most part, I think, you know?
Sure. I mean, we're friends now.
Yeah. All thanks to yoga. You know, I didn't have to take a class.
But yeah, totally. No, the community vibe makes a big difference. So I started out doing yoga at home. Home yoga has its own perks, and I'm a big advocate for it because it's more self-focused. But also, I love the open environment. It becomes a more communal feel, and that can be motivational as well in its own right. And the body and the chemicals in your body react to doing yoga or any kind of workout in a group environment. And so that has its own set of benefits for sure as well. So yeah, absolutely.
But then what about people with social anxieties? Does like, I'm sure it helps with that, but like me, I'm a man, right? I'm also antisocial and introverted.
Oh,
I got the trifecta. What's gonna make me go to class?
Oh, what will make you go to class? Probably your wife.
I mean,
let's see. So a really good teacher. So honestly, like finding a teacher that kind of fits your style, that makes you feel like, okay, I can be all of those things and come to class. So if it doesn't feel right for you, don't force yourself. But again, give yourself 3 to 5 classes to decide that.
yes.
But yeah, that's a really good question. And I have all kinds of people come into class, and some of them are introverts. So it really does depend on, I truly think it depends on the teacher and just that inviting atmosphere where you can show up just as you are. Like you can come to a yoga class and feel and be a man and be introverted and be a little bit out of your element and feel okay to be those things in that space. So
cool.
Yeah.
I got a couple more questions.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you, I don't know how many episodes you've watched, right? But I have some, I try to mix in a couple of funny ones, but apparently I've saved these for the last.
Oh, great. I love funny questions.
So, how long would you last in a zombie apocalypse?
It depends on who I'm with, because I'd be relying on my fellow friends to protect me. So maybe.
What do you mean yoga doesn't do that for you?
Yeah, you're right. Yoga has created an invincibility, and now I also know how to defeat zombies through yoga. Good point.
I mean,
I've actually had this conversation with friends about zombie apocalypse. It's like a hot topic.
yeah.
So I mean, yoga would be great to kind of warm up our muscles and prepare us for, defeating the end of time.
The hordes of
Right,
zombies
yeah,
here,
of zombies. But I mean, if I can survive doing a downward facing dog, that would be great. Sure, I'll be solid.
That would be kind of hard, but
yeah, exactly, right? So I think my expertise would be like pre-fighting off zombies and post-fighting off zombies, right?
Okay.
So let's meditate, let's get our muscles and bodies limber, and then you guys go. I'll be right here.
Okay, so you're the instructor teaching the survivors, like, hey, Zen, focus in on yourselves.
That's my role, because I don't have much faith otherwise. I think I'd be good at hiding and running.
Okay, but then how long do you think you would last? Like,
okay.
Answer the question.
Okay,
you know what I mean? Don't...
okay. How long do I think I would last? If I'm relying on the skills of others, I think I could last entirely. I think I would do okay. I think I'll last. If you're the only one. Oh, if I'm the only one.
The audience has spoken.
Yeah, I'll go with one. I think 1 week feels right.
That's a little low, I would give you
I don't
2
like
months
my odds.
tops.
Oh, thank you.
But
I like that you have more confidence than myself. I'm gonna feed off your confidence.
I got you.
I need to give myself more credit, I think, is what's going on here.
Honestly.
You know what? I'm just gonna shoot for it. I'm gonna give myself 2 months, and we'll see what happens.
Why not 5?
That time. Okay.
Like, I'm over here I'm a stepping stool to help you, like.
You know what?
Give yourself half a year,
I'm gonna give myself half a year. What happens if I don't make it to the full 6 months?
Nothing.
I'm
You're dead.
just dead.
Like, it doesn't matter.
Right.
One else is around. You haven't failed anybody else but yourself.
Okay, I can live with that. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Phew. All right. I'm gonna give myself 6 months. You know what? I'm gonna give myself 6.5 months.
There you go. You know what?
Let's see what happens.
I'm proud. That's a very good answer.
I think I'd be good at hiding and running away, because they never
technically all you
seem
have to
very
do, right?
fast, Right.
from the majority of movies. There's a couple that, you know,
They're a little intense.
World War Z,
Right.
28 Days Later.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. Yeah, I don't know. Those don't seem very viable. No, I'm giving myself 6.5 months.
You got this.
I got this. I feel
whatever
good about
happens, I'll put my money on 6 months.
that. Yes, thank you.
All right. This is an odd one. Is there anything worse than catching your parents having sex?
I have done that before. It's one of the very few memories I have as a child.
How does that work?
It wasn't on purpose.
Speaking about creeps, you know.
Well, you know, if they locked the door or if they were available when I needed them instead of
If they had
being hooligans.
whatever you were asking, if they had it on hand, you know, like
They should have been better prepared. Is there
those
anything worse?
inconsiderate.
I mean, okay, I mean, yeah, there could be okay, that's a big question. There's so many things that could be pretty shitty. So I would say yes, but keeping in mind one of the few memories I have as a child is of my parents having sex. It really burned my brain. So that
And how long did you you just open the door and you're like in shock, or did you like, oh no, like 2 seconds you're just like closing the door or whatever?
I opened the door and then I shut the door and my eyes were wide open and my aunt goes, "Honey, are you okay?"
So your aunt was watching too. What a pervert.
It runs in the family.
Oh my goodness.
Born this way.
I mean, technically, you know, like they were showing you how you were born.
Okay. No, it's terrible. No, there's nothing worse.
Well, you fall into the trap, right? Because now 9/11 seems like a viable option. You know what I mean? Where were you when that happened? You know, how old were you?
I do know.
How wide were your eyes open?
When 9/11 happened, I was like, whoa, 9/11 happened. I do remember I was in 6th grade when 9/11 happened. I remember us talking about it. I remember driving to school and hearing it on the car radio. And then we were talking about it. And I don't think it impacted me quite so much because, you know, I think in junior high you're a little self-absorbed. So you're like, well, how was that?
I also feel like we were so, like, I mean, I didn't have no family there, right? So I was like pretty detached. Like, I'm like, oh shit.
All my family was from New York, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it did affect them quite a lot. So I think I felt that, but I didn't really personalize with it per se. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm going to be honest, I don't remember. Like, I remember, I think I was at home because we had this weird schedule. Like, where 3 out of the 4 classes were, like, on, but it was our week to be off.
Oh, yeah.
So I just remember it pissing me off because it took over the cartoons, right? Like, I was like in 4th grade or something, like.
Right? We're just selfish assholes.
I was back then. Still am, you know? If you would ask my wife, she'll tell you the same thing. She tells me that every day, you know? But,
hey, some things just stick, you know? Why fix what isn't broken?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But we'll see. But dude, is there anything you want to plug? That's all my questions.
Oh, I mean, you can follow me at Leni _. Wait, what is my at Leni _ wait, yoga _ with Leni. Totally.
We'll have it correct on the screen.
I'm great at plugging myself clearly. Yeah, and I also teach yoga classes. I teach Vasa in West Valley, 3500 South, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. I also teach in Riverton for those locations at a studio called Breathe Yoga Studio. That's Tuesdays at 6 p.m. And honestly, don't even worry about that. If anything, just start at home. YouTube, there's so many good yoga videos out there. I hopefully soon will be one of them. But yeah, just come do yoga. I fell in love with it. I wasn't doing too much and I was someone who dealt with a lot of depression. and wasn't too sure where I was going, and that just was something that I felt like I was giving myself purpose, and I was giving back to my own body and soul, and it just really stuck with me. So just give it a try, or give things a try, and see where it goes. You never know. But yeah, that's my plug. How'd I do?
That was awesome. You did better than I expected.
Oh, sweet. Oh, he's just
way better than me. No, but thank you for coming. I enjoyed it. Hopefully you did too.
I did. Thank you.
And I guess that's it. We'll just hang out after, guys. Bye.
Thanks.